What conspiracy theory do you believe is true? Deleted. The majority of celebrity Scientologists joined for networking purposes, but then found themselves in over their head. Every so often, big sock companies make subtle changes to their design, so that when you buy new socks, they'll never match your old ones. Crime in big tourist cities like Las Vegas is systematically underreported in order not to hurt business. Fruit of the Loom had a cornucopia on their logo. They no longer have a cornucopia on their logo. Big Underwear wants you to believe it was never there. Wake up. Do some research. The truth is out there. Like the idea of the Illuminati has been memed to death, but I bet some very influential people do have a group chat or something. That the phasing out of the audio jack on mobile phones is to force customers to keep Bluetooth enabled as often as possible to enhance Bluetooth tracking in stores/malls, so they can sell that data on to advertisers. Toothpaste advertisements show way too much toothpaste on the toothbrush, so that you'll use more toothpaste than you need, therefore causing you to buy toothpaste more often. The theory that there are only 46 questions ever posted on this sub and a bot just randomly repeats them. Flat Earth websites were started as a practice arena for online manipulation. If they were able to convince people of such an absurdity, then people could be convinced of anything. And, once convinced, they will propagate the lie for you. I believe that my husband only drinks Diet Dr. Pepper BC. He knows I don't like it, therefore won't take a sip of his when he gets one at the gas station. The same reason that my wife buys coconut biscuits. I can't abide coconut. She knows that if she bought home Jaffa cakes or chocolate caramel hobnobs or something like that, they'd barely have time to get room temperature before I'd come swooping in and snarf them like a giant toddler on a sugar rush. So instead our food cupboard and fridge have shite like coconut rings, jammy joe eyes, snowballs, bounties, all that type of coconutty crap, while I root around the corners of the kitchen hoping to find something even as lowly as a lost bourbon cream or chocolate digestive. The Epstein pedophile island was a theory for years, and then that came out to be true. So now it's just kind of like, maybe all are true, maybe most. Britney Spears is being held captive by her dad's legal hold on her mental stability. High art galleries are just a way for organized crime to launder money through high-priced art pieces and charitable donations. That's the reason you see pieces like two solid colored canvases side by side make $43 million. Mostly right, but wrong vector. Source: good friend who makes a living creating art. Tax laws are stupid in many ways. Art is one of them. Accurately appraising the value of art, particular abstract of modern art, is effectively impossible because there will always be disagreements. So, the value that a piece is most recently sold for is usually used. If a single artist has a portfolio of similar works, then after a piece is sold the other similar pieces can be appropriately reappraised at an updated value based upon that sale. So the way this scam works is that a group of wealthy people get together and decide on an artist. One buy a piece for, say, $1,000, displays it, waits. A few months later, another buys another piece for $10,000, well above asking price, displays it, waits. Next one, buys a piece for $50,000, again well above the current asking price, even taking into account the sudden meteoric rise in popularity. This can continue, with more steps, and sometimes with slightly smaller gaps, even for a few years. Finally, at the end of all of this, each person in the chain donates their painting and writes the value of the piece off as a charitable donation to avoid paying taxes. And here's the beauty: the number they use is based upon the current value, which is appraised based upon the purchase price of their wealthy friend who's in on it for a different painting, not the price they actually paid. So these wealthy people end up being able to write off thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars in donations despite only actually paying a fraction of that. Artists ducking hate this, but can't really say no to it, because the two options are to either get unjustifiably famous and make some extra money, or get blacklisted from galleries. Basically there's no way to have a middle ground, no thank you. Harry and Meghan stepping back from royal duties is probably something they wanted to do, but the timing of it was to make everyone concentrate on that, and not the fact that Prince Andrew was best mates with Jeffrey Epstein and has been accused of shagging an underage girl. Military-industrial complex. While not a distinct elite cabal operating in coordination, there are many separate high net worth individuals and particular corporations who directly derive profit from war. They have no interest in peace and continue to prosper in an environment of low to moderate level continuous warfare. Eisenhower called it 70 years ago. The US Army have a bigger influence on Hollywood action movies than you think in order for people to be influenced at a younger age to join the army. Hitler escaped nowhere crazy like the moon or Antarctica, probably to Argentina or someplace neutral and far from Europe. Conspiracy theories are actually deliberately diffused to keep the people busy thinking about stupid conspiracy theories, rather than thinking about what is actually going on. The reason Disney came out with a movie called Frozen was so that when you googled Disney Frozen you would get information about the movie, and not websites talking about Walt Disney's body being frozen. Flight 93 was shot down by U.S. fighter craft. An eyewitness called into Howard Stern shortly after it went down in the field, and clearly stated US military were already there at the time of the airborne explosion. The caller went on to say that the jets fired upon the plane. Now normally I would dismiss this, but the kicker is that the call was edited out of the release of the 9/11 broadcast later released by the show. I've discussed this a few times on Reddit before, and others claim to have heard the same thing I did that day. The official story is that we were still minutes away by air. Vapes were invented to ensure the next generation got addicted to nicotine. The future of cigarettes looked bleak as more smokers were giving up, and fewer new people, teenagers, and children especially, were taking up smoking. There was no need for a new product to help people quit. They were quitting just fine already. But suddenly a new nicotine-based product shows up that can make the perfect smoke for cool tricks, and has flavors like candy floss. Profit margins are looking good again, and the next generation of lifelong nicotine addicts is assured. Edit, less corrected to fewer Reddit 2, woke up to a lot of replies including some educating me on the inventor of vaping and his motives. I don't note a link to a reply, but this one by u/idiot_with_or_gun pretty much sums it up. Well, we know they were invented to help get people off cigarettes. We know because the inventor of the modern vape is a relatively middle class dude in China, who made it to help his dad stop smoking. He never got terribly rich from it, making his involvement in a conspiracy unlikely. Now after the invention, are vapes being used to purposefully addict another generation to nicotine? Well, that's not really a secret conspiracy, given that Juul is literally owned by a tobacco company. Now is it? Though I would still say it's a conspiracy, because pretty sure the tobacco people would deny it to the end of their days. It's my understanding a conspiracy is a secret plan that is unlawful or harmful. Additionally, many people have said it can't be a conspiracy because the government is against vaping. I never claimed the government was in on the conspiracy. That Camel cigarette ad aimed at children also got banned, right? It is possible to have a conspiracy the government isn't involved with. Please, we also don't all have the same government. I'm from the UK. Gangs and criminal organizations from all over the world have members commit crimes with the intention of being incarcerated in US prisons to add to their status/control in the prison system. Trafficking in drugs and contraband, as well as being able to attack incarcerated members of rival gangs, are both extremely lucrative and worthwhile endeavors. I maintain this crazy theory that television networks got some kind of incentive to create tons of shows glorifying work in the medical profession. George Clooney almost single-handedly inspired thousands and thousands of people to get their nursing degree. I believe they did this because there was a seriously critical lack of healthcare professionals prior to the explosive increase in medical dramas and even comedies. I base this on zero research, just simple observation. My own. Turing did not kill himself. He was too dangerous to live. As far as the UK was concerned, he was an uncontrolled risk. They killed him as soon as they thought they could convince people it was suicide. Don't forget this is the same country that found a dead spy zipped into a sports bag a few years back and declared it suicide. That the hospitals being built and run exclusively by the military in Wuhan somehow using only excavation equipment are really mass graves, either out of need or anticipation of need. IDK how popular this is nowadays, but for the longest time a lot of people were afraid to flash their headlights at cars who were driving at night with no lights on. Ostensibly because gangs would use that as an initiation technique, drive around in a car with no headlights on and the first person to flash their brights at you is who you have to kill. I think that police forces around the country seeded that idea into the public consciousness to make people unwilling to let people know to turn their lights on, so they could give out more tickets. I don't actually believe it, but I think it has the highest chance of being right, and it's super weird. I always believed that each person was seeing a different color when they look at what you would call blue, but everyone learned it as blue. I think there's more to the murders of Martin Luther King and RFK than the official explanations would have you believe. I'm not saying there's any one theory in particular that I subscribe to for either event, but it just seems there are so many oddities and unanswered questions surrounding both. The U.S. government/media is pitting its people against one another using large blanket falsehoods to keep Americans disagreeing and arguing. The Sonic the Hedgehog movie trailer with the bad looking Sonic was simply to drum up publicity. They didn't change it to the better looking, more true to form Sonic. It was that version from the start. The two trailers, the old and the new versions, were the talk of the internet both times. I believe Kurt Cobain was murdered. The note he supposedly left had 3 different styles of writing when Kurt's autopsy was performed. He had enough drugs in his system to kill him 3 times over, and he was drunk enough that he couldn't lift his own head. So how could he shoot himself in the head with a shotgun? Acne medication/treatment/kits making your face dependent to using them, so that your face breaks out more than ever after you stop using the medication. Not really a big conspiracy, but I had read the toothpaste thing, and it reminded me. Here's a pretty specific one to Wales. In the mid-2000s a new qualification called the Welsh Baccalaureate was added to the A-level curriculum for most schools in Wales. In most schools kids switched from studying 5 A-levels to 4 A-levels and the new qualification. The new qualification was meant to be mainly entrepreneurial skill, to help them get ready for the workplace, but I suspect there was an ulterior motive. Universities in Wales all accepted the qualification as an automatic but universities outside Wales didn't accept the qualification as a valid A-level. So my conspiracy theory is this was a sly way of making Welsh students much more likely to be accepted by Welsh universities, while simultaneously making them much more likely to be rejected by universities outside the country, encouraging them to reinvest their student loans into Welsh areas and not move out of the mostly rural country to England or places further afield. So here's a recent one with the coronavirus that's going around. A quick Google search shows that there's an Institute of Virology in Wuhan. Weird coincidence that Facebook is data mining and listening to us through the microphones on our phones. I swear to God. Sometimes I'll just think about something, and 5 minutes later, it's being advertised on my newsfeed. Every single person I know has said the same thing. They will mention something in passing, and next time they check Facebook, there it is. I have heard stories about people having a TV show on in the background where somebody is speaking a different language and their targeted ads suddenly start appearing in Spanish or German, or what have you. I'm absolutely convinced that stores and restaurants have access to every owned Spotify account so they'll play music that shoppers will like and they'll stay longer. I can't think of any other reason why I would have heard MF Doom's rap snitches in a Chipotle a couple of weeks ago. The new Coke rollout in the 80s was to mask the introduction of high fructose corn syrup into the classic Coke formula without anyone noticing. There's some kind of Illuminati-esque group among the rich and powerful. I don't know how wide and far-reaching it is, but there's gotta be something there. Riot Games buffs and refuses to nerf certain champions in League of Legends in order to sell more skins. It's also why they make almost every new champ a little op or broken, so people will buy their release skin. I 100% believe in the Darth Jar Jar theory link. B/escpus_voy. Especially in the part that Lucas scrapped the idea after all the terrible fan backlash against Jar Jar. A part of me is glad he did, because Jar Jar was an awful character who had no right being center stage of the prequels. But another part of me is disappointed as all the pieces coming together would have been very satisfying. That Martin Luther King was killed by the U.S. government because he was mobilizing blacks to collaborate with the white liberals who were protesting the Vietnam War. The Rand Corporation, in conjunction with the Saucer people, under the supervision of the reverse vampires, are forcing our parents to go to bed early in a fiendish plot to eliminate the meal of dinner. I think there's a connection between the coronavirus and the Muslim concentration camps in China. It just seems very suspicious to me that we were hearing about all the horrors that went on in those camps on the news every day, then suddenly nothing. All the major news networks and big name bloggers just stopped talking about it and everyone just moved on without anything ever being done about the camps. Then a few months later this virus happens. I can't help but think there's some sort of connection between them. Hey, thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe.